It's insane how much I get this question.
How do I make friends?
Loser. But what else do you expect from the net? I know for a fact that that is what I expect because I know my own brain. Now, let's talk about how to make friends from a man that is constantly in a hyperbolic chamber by himself. I think that the main thing that you need to understand about friend making, apart from just go into hobbies that you like, and then people that like hobbies, have something to talk about. That's definitely true. That is true as well, and I understand that in the digital age, everybody is isolated and in their little enclaves by themselves. Frankly, I don't really see the need for friends. I kind of flourish on this thing because it's like, you're wasting my time. But for people that need connection to be happy, pathetic. But I think that what you should be doing when you're walking into those situations is understanding that if you have low self-esteem, you are not going to make friends. Now, this is just the brutal breakdown of social interactions, which is that people are value-seeking creatures. We've discussed on how to get puss. It's the same thing with friends. It's just somebody who gets mad puss is just somebody who has good social skills. And what happens is that when you are in a social situation, people go to the people that are of good value. Now, people try and get that value through weird ways, like becoming extremely wealthy or becoming a lawyer or a banker or whatever in their mind they think ooh, that's high status. And it will work to a certain population, but there are some people that just have those ingredients in their brain that make them just universally liked. Those people, without exception, have high self-esteem. Most of the time that they have high self-esteem really is just because their parents were mad. They were just loving parents, and so they just walk through life going, yay, my mum loved me. And so as a result of that, as we've talked about before, there's a thing called state transfer, right? Which is whatever you're feeling, the people that are around you are going to be feeling that feeling. So if you are walking into a social situation going, I hurt myself, everybody is going to be, they will ping off on that. Because as much as human beings are removed from the animal kingdom in the sense that they can't sense when a ghost walks through the house, like when you see dogs going, which, by the way, do this as a favour for me, write that in the comments if you have ever had a cat go when they think that something's walking around there. I just want to hear the story. But I don't even care if you're lying or not. I just want some ghost stories. Come on. And then there's going to be a bunch of people,
Once there was this guy that got his nutsack out when he went to Pakistan. No, he's not my friend that got his ghost.
But when it comes to high self-esteem, usually those things are arbitrary. They're just arbitrarily placed on someone. They might have those personality traits just naturally when they were born and they grew up in a really bad household. I don't actually know the science behind it, but I'm imagining that it's one of those not bred in things, like a nurture more than a nature thing. But you can do that to yourself. You can program yourself to have high self-esteem. What is high self-esteem? Well, I was just talking about it on the Neil and Jordan podcast the other day. High self-esteem, I think, can be basically boiled down to, and there's other areas of self-esteem, but just the general idea of what self-esteem is, it's just this: I'm good enough. That's it. If you have low self-esteem, you are going to think, I'm not good enough. Now, as we discussed before, there's situational confidence, where you will be in a certain social situation and you will be sitting there and being like, yeah, I am the maddest guy here because I know more about Yu-Gi-Oh cards than these guys. And as soon as you walk out, you're going to be laughed at because you're going to have that dumb hair that Yu-Gi-Oh has. And in every other social context apart from that very niche good games in Gosford, I'm imagining, you're not going to have high status for looking like Yu-Gi-Oh! Instantly. So there's that. But if you have low self-esteem, in virtually every situation that you're in, you're going to say, I'm not good enough. When you meet a bunch of new people, what is going to go on in your mind? I'm scared of them. What if I say something stupid? That guy looked like a jerk. He's going to be mean to me. There's going to be all of that. If you are of high self-esteem, as in you think I'm good enough, you'll just walk into the conversation, and you know what? You won't care if you say dumb things. In fact, this is something that you just need to get out of your head, out of your mind altogether. Just get away with this belief that what you are saying is dumb. Yes, let people be the judge of that, which is what I was just the judge of with that Today FM person. But the thing is, she was confident enough to get into that position. If I'm going to give her any props, she was confident enough to get into the position of being one of the personalities on a radio station before there was really internet celebritydom or whatever. So she was pushing her way there, And that basically came from, obviously, her parents just being like, you're very special, that's that special. Now, obviously, she didn't have the other thing that you need, which is self-awareness and to be chipping away at delusion. But the reality of this situation is, this is just a fact. You, by you existing, are good enough for virtually anything on Earth. Basically, there's going to be jobs, maybe like a rocket scientist or something like that if you don't have the IQ, you're not going to get there. But most of the jobs that people are doing at the moment, they are inadequate at them. They are bad at those jobs. You probably, with no experience whatsoever, could walk into it in a lot of circumstances. I know this for Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison, for sure, when he was just a marketer at Tourism Australia, I could have done a better job than him, without a doubt. Knowing nothing about marketing, he sucked. You could be better at most jobs than the people that are currently inhabiting those. It is exactly the same when you go into social situations. Most of the people that people just gravitate towards and they're like, wow, they're so confident. You know what it is? They're just kind of happy. That's it. It's not that they're like amazingly, they've got like these death-defying social skills that you don't. They kind of just sit there and if they just see that people have like an awkward face at something they say, they kind of just, whatever, they plow through. It doesn't matter. The next time they say something along that line, people just kind of register in their mind like, oh, that's them, that's their character. And then it just kind of plays into itself. It's just because that person is bringing out a happy vibe and people are attracted to that. People are attracted to people that have high self-esteem, that they think, I'm good enough. Because that level of a lack of insecurity, that starts to project. And if they have a lack of insecurity, everyone around them starts having a lack of insecurity. So, when you are in social situations, I want you, if you are one of these people, like it probably does speak to a lot of people on the net, obviously, is that a lot of people would just have this thing of just being like, I'm scared because I don't want to come off as, what if I say the wrong thing or whatever. It's just, like, these are low self-esteem thoughts. All the other thing as well is just being like, I'm better than everybody else. That's arrogance. That doesn't really have anything to do with self-esteem or low self-esteem or high self-esteem. But I'm imagining that most people that are in that kind of thing of just being like, oh, these people, they just don't understand me. I would imagine that most of the time, those people are low self-esteem people. It's kind of different if you're just one of these people that's just like, look, I don't have time for that. That's different. But if you're one of those people that just sits at a party being like, these people are thick. Am I right? I'm cool though, by myself, that no one's interacting with. I'm the real James Bond. No one else thinks that. Maybe you do, but I think that there is an embedding there of I don't want to get rejected. Otherwise, you'd just be interacting with everybody. And after a while, if you are interacting with people in that positive vibe mode, most people, unless they are of low self-esteem, most people kind of just go like, yeah, and they kind of find things to be in common with anyway, even if they have nothing to have in common. High self-esteem people are able to do that. They can just walk into virtually every social situation. It could be just like a party of bankers. It could be a party of crackheads. It doesn't matter. They'll walk in there and people will be like, that guy's mad. It doesn't matter what they dress in, anything. All that matters about is their presence. And I think that their presence is just based off the bedrock of that one phrase, I'm good enough. Now, if you don't think that, as is always the answer, you can train yourself to think it because you are essentially a dog. And it's the same thing with marketing. Marketing is just the ideas of incantations. It's just like when I say, it's Mac time. You will remember that. You will remember that even though that ad was on maybe 20 years ago at this point, it's still embedded in your head because it was just said over and over and over again. That thought that they had market group tested. So if you are constantly saying to yourself, I love myself, I'm good enough, guess what happens? You will start to believe it because that will override your old programming because that's the thing that's most predominant in your mind at that time. After a while it becomes habitual, that's your new image of yourself. If you are having troubles having friends, just give yourself a brief analysis at the end of this. That's your homework. Do you have low self-esteem or high self-esteem in most situations? Do you think that you're good enough in a situation? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're good enough at the moment. It just means that if I really apply myself to any task on earth, I can get good results out of it. If you have that belief, you are going to do well in life. In everything, from social to relationships to business, everything. You will do well. If you have that mindset of I'm not good enough, that becomes self-fulfilling prophecy as well. Whether you can or can't, you're right. All right, give me more questions, like the video. Thank you for your time.